Can Real Madrid win the Champions League? Will Real Madrid win the Champions League? Today I want to talk about that as your favorite American discussing the beautiful game. So, Carlo Ancelotti said the last time Madrid lost poorly to Barcelona, they ended up winning the treble. Can that happen? Yes. Will that happen? Let's discuss the scenarios for Real Madrid. So right now, Madrid is in the 20th spot with 9 points. And I did a little bit of research on the points. So 3 points if they win, 1 point for a draw. In that case, their ceiling is 15 points. They play these guys next, RB Salzburg. They should win that easily. So that's 12 points right there. Then they play these guys. We don't know how that's going to go. But let's say they win that. They're at 15 points. If they're at 15 points, they're in the top 8. Hypothetically. But that's also if all these other teams fail to win their next game. Because here's how that works. Let's say any of these guys, or all these guys, right? Dortmund, Bayern, Atletico, Milan, all of these guys, right? The ones who have 12 points. Let's say they win their next game and then they draw, they're at 16 points. So, since they're at 16 points, their ceiling is higher than Madrid. So what is the chance that Madrid ends up in the top 8? I would not say those chances are high. Here's why. Because there's just so many teams on here who have a higher ceiling than Madrid. And any of these teams down here can also they can catch fire at any time. And they can end up with 16 points. Like, for example, let's say Sporting's in a bad spot. Monaco's on the downward slope. Let's say if Atalanta wins their next two, that's like what, 14, 17. They got 17 points, even though Madrid beat them. 17 points versus 15 points. From my understanding, they should end up back in the top 8. So it's not high that Madrid ends up in the top 8. So what's the likelihood? They end up here. Why is that important? Because in the new Champions League format, they would actually be playing a knockout phase playoff, which is going to be 2 games. All right, they play that. First and second legs. That's important because now they're playing 2 extra games compared to the likes of, say, a Liverpool or Barcelona or Arsenal. That's why it's important. Does Real Madrid have the depth to go that far? No, because they've lost Danny Carvajal, they've lost Eder Militao, and people are making rumors about free agency, right? If you're Alexander Arnold, right, or a good right back like that, are you going to a Real Madrid when you know Liverpool is going to most likely be the favorites to win it all? Probably not. So there's like, how many good defenders are out there for Madrid to fill up those gaps? I mean, sure, they'll find somebody decent, but do they have the depth? The second thing I'll say is, back when Madrid won those Champions Leagues, they had Toni Kroos, and we have learned this season that Kroos was so paramount to Madrid winning the Champions League in all those past years, especially last year. He covered up for a lot of Bellingham's flaws, which we have seen on display like crazy this year, even though everybody loves to glaze him, but that's that. So they don't have Toni Kroos anymore. That's the other thing. And also, when I have seen Madrid play against the elite of the elite teams like Liverpool, like this game was not even close. Like Liverpool, if you watch that game, they were controlling the game. So they not only like outscored Madrid, they controlled the entire game. It was not even competitive. So we learned that Madrid cannot play against the elite teams like this. Sure, they beat Atalanta, but again, Serie A is not as strong as the Premier League. And we don't know how they're going to do against the elite teams out there because, again, they have only won against Atalanta. Their next opponent, or one team they're going to play like way down the road, so not their next opponent, is going to be Atletico. I'm looking at that game. I'm going to look at that game and I'm going to see what is Madrid made of, because that's going to tell us a lot. Right now, if I had to forecast it, I would say it is unlikely, highly unlikely, that Madrid repeats in the Champions League. They're having to play extra games, most likely. They just don't have the depth. When you lose Danny Carvajal and either Militao, you have that many gaps on your defense. You're not going to be able to go against the likes of a Liverpool or an Arsenal or any of these teams in the top eight, in my opinion. This game will tell us a lot, but again, this is not an elite team. So we're going to have to see it play out, but right now I'm going to stick to it. I'm going to say that there's a likelihood, I would say it's much more likely that Madrid gets eliminated from the Champions League and doesn't even make the round of 16 than it is that Madrid actually wins or even makes the Champions League final. So let me know in your comments below how you feel. Subscribe and have a lot of good content coming out for you guys.